Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Adrian Pace. I am from the IEEE. Specifically, I am a director on the IEEE Foundation. And it's my privilege and honor to launch the IEEE Humanitarian Technology webinar series today with a very exciting talk from Max Froumentin from the World Wide Web Foundation on mobile web technologies for the developing world. The IEEE Humanitarian Technology webinar series is a free and publicly available webinar series, and it is intended to be a powerfully engaging webinar series focused on applying technology to solve the world's most pressing humanitarian and development challenges. We recognize that there is a very big gap between the haves and have-nots in society, and there are, however, a lot of inspirations, new technologies, innovative business models, and social entrepreneurship movements from all around the world that focus on improving developing country situations. And the idea of this webinar series is to create a platform to leverage information by galvanizing mainstream engineering communities to focus on a number of critical needs in the area of water, energy, transportation, and communication. And we realize that this is a multi-dimensional problem which requires input from a lot of different people with lots of different skills. No one organization on its own, we believe, can address the issues significantly unless they cooperate, and that's the idea of this platform. I hope that you enjoyed the series and that you regularly join and give your feedback as to what you'd like to get out of this platform, because this is open and we welcome your ideas. We have a team behind us. Here are the people in the team, and it's taken a lot of hard work to get this off the ground. And I'd like to thank everyone that's been involved in putting together this webinar and generally in putting together the program. This initiative is supported by an IEEE Humanitarian Ad Hoc Committee that's chaired by Lou Turman and William Walsh, and I'd also like to thank them. Right now, and I can see that people are already doing it, just to give an idea of where everyone is from, please enter your name and location in the Q&A window to the left-hand side. And I'm sure we'll find that people from all over the world are attending this. Secondly, during the webinar, please enter any questions you have for Max in the Q&A window. And Max will answer a selection of these questions at the end. We have a few other webinars coming up. One of them in January is by Jessica Colasso, who's the manager of iHub Nairobi. And it talks about innovation and entrepreneurship within the tech community from an African perspective. And this is a very important topic because, innovative ideas are the engine of any country's growth. And we have a few other webinars that are also planned. One on internet access, the other on a very innovative way of cleaning water from South Africa by Professor Eugene Kluter. Exact dates and registration details will be available in due course at the Humanitarian website. I do know that this is open to the public, and there are probably many among you who don't know much about the IEEE, and I invite you all to go to the IEEE website and to also become a member of the IEEE. And feel free to email me if you have any questions. Last but not least, just one matter of housekeeping. We will be, we are recording this webinar, and we'll be hosting a recording on the website, the Humanitarian e-learning library website, and you can access that anytime you want. Also, for those of you that wish to have certificates that you have attended this webinar, you're welcome to, after this is over, go to the website and complete a form, a survey of this webinar, and then you will get your certificate of completion. And to today's webinar, it's really a deep honor and privilege to introduce to you Max Froumentin. He comes from the World Wide Web Foundation, and the World Wide Web Foundation is actually led by Tim Berners-Lee, who's the inventor of the Internet. And he received an IEEE award a couple of years ago, in fact. And Max will talk today about mobile web technologies for the developing world. Although more than half of the world population has a mobile phone, only a tiny fraction use browser-based mobile internet services. The rest, most of whom are in developing countries, aren't able to benefit from the huge potential of the web, and Max will explain why and how the problem could be solved with current technology. A brief background and introduction to Max. Max joined the Web Foundation in June 2010. He has worked previously for the browser maker Opera and video startup Joost. And he also spent 6 years at the World Wide Web Consortium, leading activities such as Voice and Multimodal and managing working groups such as MathML, XSL, and Device Independence. Before that, Max worked as a computer science research associate at the University of Bath in UK, and he holds a Ph.D. in computer science from the University of Lille in France. So, well, I think it's time to get started with the reason why we're here today and to hear what Max has to tell us. So, Max, it's over to you.
Hi, can you hear me? Yes, I guess. Okay. Hi, everyone. Okay, a small correction first. I'm not going to present how you can solve the world's problem using technology because it's just not possible, but I'm going to try and do my best to explain how we can make a little difference. So I'm going to start, in fact, on slide 3 to give you this slide. I don't need to tell you the slide numbers, do I? So that I tell you a little bit more about the Web Foundation, and then I'll tell you about the specific project that led to this presentation. So the World Wide Web Foundation was created 2 years ago by Tim Berners-Lee. We're 8 staff at the moment and growing. We're working on various topics. Basically, the foundation is the result of teams deciding to start a humanitarian organization as a spin-off the World Wide Web Consortium, where the standards are developed. Please spell out abbreviations. Oh, okay. after spending a lot of time working on standards, web standards, HTML and all that, we thought that it was time to try and make the World Wide Web really worldwide, and explain how, or try and empower people with web technologies where it's the most needed, in particular in developing countries, of course. Where we can make a difference these days is on several fronts. The main one is mobile technologies, because as you may well be aware, the future of the web is in mobile, especially in developing countries where the web's never been non-mobile. Many people in developing countries don't have desktop computers, a computer, and never will have one. But most people have a mobile phone. That's why the mobile web is so important. But the foundation also works on more server-side initiatives, like open government data, which is quite popular at the moment. Not the WikiLeaks kind of open government data, but more like government-initiated initiatives, like has been done in the UK and in the US recently. If you go to, I think in the US it's data.gov, and in the UK it's data.gov.uk, I think, where governments start putting their data on, population, budget, and everything online, and for the benefit of its citizens. There is a lot to do on that front, but that's not what I'm going to talk about right now. But rather on mobile technology in the developing world. So we have a program specifically on that called MEA, which stands for Mobile Entrepreneurs in Africa. It's basically, the goal is to create communities and train entrepreneurs to basically learn mobile technologies and try and basically benefit from it, benefit the local society, community with services designed using mobile devices, using web technologies, and hopefully make a business out of it, because that's how things work. And specifically, this project is set in Ghana. We have Mobile Entrepreneurs in Africa, Ghana, which we get funding from the Vodafone program, the Vodafone Humanitarian program, and this is the project which I'm going to talk about specifically, as I'm that project leader. So going back to the beginning of this presentation, I gave that presentation in Accra last week, and in Cape Coast as well, to introduce locally this project. So the project is called Mobile Entrepreneurs in Africa, and is currently starting in Ghana. Basically, what we're trying to do is start a community of mobile entrepreneurs. So, as I said, it's all about people who want to, who have local needs, who know the needs of their community, and who then learn the technology to design services based on the mobile web to solve those problems, and to create businesses around solving those problems. So this presentation is very long. I don't have that much time to give it here, but it's originally 2 hours long, but it includes demos, and I am going to go really fast so that you don't get too bored. So we start with the mobile market. So again, this is specific to Ghana, but of course, every country similar to Ghana could have the same presentation with slightly different statistics. So if you look at mobile technology in Ghana and in most of Africa, you find out that the mobile phone penetration rate has increased hugely in the last year and is still increasing in many countries, which results in a very large market for mobile services. Basically, a mobile service is anything you can do with a mobile phone when you're not interacting with someone. The simplest example is voicemail, for instance. Voicemail, you interact with a robot that gives you your messages and lets you leave messages to people. So those automated services are the basis for mobile web services. So there are 4 types. One is interactive voice response, so an example of which is a voicemail, but there's also services based on SMS or MMS, so a short message service and multimedia messaging service, or any sort of messaging technology on mobile phones. You also have mobile websites as mobile services available from phones, and also mobile applications. I'll go through each of them in detail. So the most important point, I guess, one of the most important things to say about this presentation is that, and about the whole project in general, is that all those mobile services, whether it's an SMS service that gives you weather information, or whether it's a voice service or an application of any sort that runs on your mobile phone, is built using web technology. It might not seem obvious because SMS, for instance, when you send or receive SMSs, you don't see URLs, you don't, see pictures, you don't have links. But in fact, in the background, it's all web technology. And that's really important because in Ghana, again, but anywhere in Africa, in many developing countries, as you can see on this chart, internet use, so as in desktop internet, is really limited, whereas mobile phone is obviously huge with so many people having a mobile phone. So if you look at this slide, on the left you have the share of the market share of internet services, which is small. Again, internet means desktop internet, which is small, obviously, because few people have a desktop computer, while the market share of mobile services is huge because most people have a mobile. However, on the other side, you see that the technology to build those internet and mobile services, which is the same because it's all based on internet technology, is for a large part normal internet technology using languages like PHP, HTML, or JavaScript. And what you need to learn in order to reach the mobile market is, on top of it, very small. You have to learn the specifics of SMS applications and voice applications and all that, but it's not that much. And that's specifically that fact that we're using, that is at the origin of Mobile Web Ghana. What we want to do is basically to teach that extra bit. I guess I should, maybe I could use the pointing features of this system. No, maybe not. Anyway, that bit is what you need to teach people in order to reach that mobile service market. So you see there's a lot to be gained for someone who knows a little bit about web technology, and there are quite a few people. If you go to countries like Ghana, there are ads, posters advertising internet courses in the street. So quite a few people are currently learning those skills. And if you, on top of it, if you teach mobile technology, then that empowers people a lot more in order to build services that make sense in the context of that country's population and its communities. So let's talk a little bit more about technology. I'm really going to dash through these slides because otherwise I'll be here for 2 hours. So SMS services. The typical applications you get is, as I said, phone banking, or if you want to top up your credit for prepaid services and all that stuff you probably are familiar with. Examples of that that you find in interesting places is you have quite a few services all across the world that let people send request SMS to a number, and they receive automatically things like market prices for fish or for rice or for any products you may want to sell. So after you're a fisherman and after you've fished, you are looking for which market to sell your fish at, and so you send an SMS to that system and it tells you which market has the best price for whatever you want to sell. So that's an interesting example of an SMS application which is mostly in use in developing countries. I don't know if you can click on the links on the slides, but if you can't, I'm happy to provide them later. So when I said that those services, those mobile services were built on web technologies, this picture sort of illustrates it. Basically, the web, the SMS application is going to it lives in the web world because it is written by using web languages. It is written using the HTTP protocol, where the application will fetch resources, will access databases, all that using the web. All you need to do to plug an SMS to make it an SMS services is basically an SMS gateway, which is a piece of hardware which will interface your customer's SMS with your web system. And it's the same thing for voice applications, as we'll see later. So I'll skip the tools. So here you had in the original presentation I had demos where I had the system running on a small laptop I had with me, just plugged to a normal telephone, and that was providing a simple news alert service where you could unsubscribe and subscribe. You could subscribe and then receive news alerts and then unsubscribe later. I just wanted to show how simple it was to build a very simple SMS service. Unfortunately, I can't show it here, but it worked. So just to show how I had implemented that, the gateway is a piece of software called Frontline SMS, which just lets you plug a simple telephone with a SIM card in it to your laptop, and that provides the gateway with a piece of software called Frontline SMS, which you can download freely. And so the rest, once you've got that, which you set up very quickly, once you've got that, your application is written in any language you want, but again, it's a web language. It's like a normal web application. In this case, for that demo, the language was Python, and in fact, this is the source. So it's like 30 lines, which was enough to build that simple application. So it was pretty cool. So voice is in fact quite similar. So voice, you know what I'm talking about when I say voice. It's called interactive voice response system. Basically, it's what you get when you call any customer service number. You get a recorded voice that tells you, press 1 to do this, press 2 to do that, say something to do this, and then you get an answer back as more recorded prompts or possibly voice synthesis. The types of applications you have: phone banking, helplines, obviously, news services. I wrote pull because as opposed to SMS where you get alerts, in this case, if you're calling a number to get news, then it's sort of a pull system because you go to the system to get the news. An interesting example is CGNet Swara in India. This is a journalist who, he knew, because he was from there, that the news in that region of India is, and most of the news in India, in fact, is in Hindi or in English, and there are very little news sources that are in local languages, and that frustrates people because not only they don't get the news in their language, but also they don't get any local news. So that guy designed this system where he taught a few people in a village or two how to do citizen journalism, and he then introduced them to a system where they could call a number and they were able to either leave a message, leave a news story, or listen to other people's stories. So it's a simple system illustrated by that small diagram here, which just, it's like a voicemail accessible from anyone, and it was, despite it being a very simple system, it was very, very popular, if only because a lot of people can't read and were quite happy to, and can't read and can't speak Hindi or English, and they only speak the local language. So that system allowed them, through a voice application, to just not only get local news in their language, but also leave messages with new news items. So that was a big success. It's actually still going on, and they're trying to generalize it to more regions in India. Other example is the winner of the Apps for Africa contest this year. It's another voice application which farmers use to track the fertility stages of their cows. So when they start using the system, they enter a few information for each cow they have. So they call that number, they say, my cow is called Jenny, and she's 4 years old, blah, blah, blah. And then they can get automated reminders at some point in the year when it's the right time for the cow to do whatever cows do, to have small cows. So again, that was a very innovative system, entirely built on interactive voice response system. And again, that was the only means to reach that population that couldn't use computers, couldn't use their mobile browsers because their mobile phone was not enabled for that, and couldn't even use SMS because they couldn't read. So another example I'll skip because I'll spend too much time otherwise. As you saw for SMS, this is for interactive voice response systems. It's pretty much the same. You've got a gateway, which is a piece of hardware, and then your application, your voice application, lives in the web world. So, which means that it's web technologies, it's URLs, it's PHP, MySQL, all the stuff. But through the phone gateway, your web application, your web service becomes a voice-enabled service. So tools exist that are free and some are open source, which allow you to build a very simple voice system. Here again, I had a demo of Prophecy, which is a system you can download to run the local voice server. You can plug that to little boxes called GSM gateways, which just like we did for frontline SMS, you put a SIM card in it, and it basically provides that gateway between your computer in the web and your customer's mobile phone. And so the application is written in Voice XML. Voice XML is a language like HTML. It's basically the HTML for voice. And this is pretty much how it looks. So you can't, unfortunately, you can't listen to the demo, but you can see that you can see in the markup you have some text, which is what the system tells you when you call the number, and also the no match stuff here at the beginning indicates, for instance, what you get when the system was expecting an answer. The system was expecting an answer from the user, but didn't get what he was looking for. So again, just to make the point again that this is all about using web technologies. This is very much like HTML. You've got URLs, you've got databases. You just learn a somehow new, slightly different variant of HTML called Voice XML, and bam, you can very quickly build an application that is available not just to standard web users, desktop web users, but anybody with a mobile phone. So the mobile web. This is probably more familiar to people. Basically, this is about building websites for mobile phone. The type of applications you get using mobile web services is just about anything you get on on the web, but with a system and with web pages that are designed correctly, they can be displayed on a mobile phone, and so potentially any web service is available on a mobile phone. A few examples. Cell Bazaar in India just provides a simple, very simple, made for simple phones, website, a WAP site, in fact, that allows you to buy and sell stuff. Obviously, another example illustrating one approach for designing web services is to have a desktop service and a mobile service, and it is clear that in some countries many more people access the mobile service than the desktop service. So once again, if you design a web service that's mobile enabled, you're potentially going to reach far more people than if you just have a desktop service. So I'll skip the demo of Opera Mini. This is also rather common illustration of the fact that it's obviously still the web, although now the web has pages for mobile and pages for desktop. Obviously, it's not like voice and SMS where you need specific hardware to specific gateways and specific markup. It's all HTML with a certain set of new techniques to design mobile services. A few words on mobile apps. I'll go very quickly because mobile apps they may be cool, and there may be mobile apps are like iPhone apps, applications that you have on your phone and that access online services. They're very cool, they're very fancy, but obviously in our context of developing country and services available to most people, they have a very small market share. You have to realize that on average, the phones that are used in the whole of sub-Saharan Africa, I think, are from 2004. So nobody has an iPhone, nobody has an Android phone. It is very limited in what you can do with mobile phone apps. Obviously, you can find a market where people will have apps, but it's unlikely to be a very big market. So I'll basically skip through that, just to remind just that the fact that it works is that you just have in order to develop a mobile app, you download a software development kit, and you just build the application for the platform, and then you install it, and you're done basically. So an important part is once you've realized that there are ways to reach quite a few people using by designing a mobile technology-enabled application. The question is which technology you choose, and the simple decision, decision process you might make is that the simpler your technology is, so starting with voice response and SMS going all the way through to mobile applications, the more users you reach. So if you design a voice application, it's simple, as in it's a simple way of interacting with the service, and it uses simple hardware, and you reach many people. And on the other end, mobile apps, they're quite complex and cool and have lots of features, but they reach few users. But it's more complicated than that. It's not just I'm choosing a technology that will solve my problem and lead to a solution. It's more complex than that. So I'm going to give a few examples of types of applications. So for instance, you have a market, you have a fisherman community that is not able to find information on tides or weather, local weather, or you have a local NGO that does child health care, and you have trouble organizing the resources, the medication, the volunteers. So your organization has a problem and would benefit from a sort of service that would help everybody. Or your local football club is you're missing, you don't get the results, the fixtures on time for the local league, so you don't get the results. So you're looking for a system to for people to enter their results quickly. So with the knowledge that you can build a simple service, you just do a bit of coding and you end up with services that you think work. So you design, for instance, an interactive voice response solution for your fishermen's community problem, and it works pretty well because you've chosen voice, and they seem to it seems to work with them. They call a number, they get the information. It's all great. In the case of your NGO healthcare problem, you've designed an SMS service, and you find that it's pretty simple to use. Your community, the NGO uses it a lot, but it supports local language. Or in the third case, you've designed a mobile website, and it's very well done, and people find it very easy to enter the scores and gets the results. However, your system eventually fails because you haven't found a way for your voice application for the fishermen's community to pay you. So you can't continue running the system. And the fact is, using voice systems, how do you get people to pay for the service? They're just calling a number. They can't pay you. So basically, the system fails because you've forgotten to take into account parameters like that. Similarly, you've designed an SMS service that works well in the second example here, but you find that you need a computer that's always on, and in order to provide the service. But you're in an area where electricity is scarce, and so you can't keep the system running, and that makes your system fail as well. And another type of mistake in this third scenario is that your website is pretty cool and works well, but you find out that none in your football league don't have no one has a mobile browser, so your system is unusable. These are examples. These are fake examples, obviously, but there are countless examples, real examples of people who've designed great services, great devices, great concepts that have ended up being completely useless because they haven't taken much into account. So I'll skip the pros and cons of each system to go to this. So not only in this particular project we have, not only we want to teach the technology, but we know that it's not enough. We know that there are many specific local conditions that will make a system relevant or not, or successful or not. And in particular, there are many questions you have to ask yourself before you implement that great solution you've thought of. What's the target community? Who are the people? What equipment is available to people who are going to use it? What sort of devices do they have? Is the service going to be very useful? Obviously, are they going to be able to pay? Are you going to be able to get paid? Can they afford the cost that is going to cost them? Of course, there are language questions. Who is going to do the software development? Maybe you have written a nice piece of software, but someone has to maintain it when it grows, and then loads of questions like that. How is the mobile market changing? Are you going to change the ecosystem in your community, and things will change, and is your system going to become obsolete very quickly? You have to think about it. In fact, it's just like any business. You have to take into account the fact that your business evolves, and so you have to forecast what's going to happen. So many other questions which I'll skip. To be honest, I will skip that business aspect section by just summarizing it to the fact that, as I hope I explained well, that you can't just learn the technology and succeed. You have to learn all the aspects of a business, specifically a mobile business, before you can actually launch something that's sustainable. So just like I explained at the beginning, what was true for technology here is also true for business. You may know the internet business, but it's not enough. You have to learn a little bit more about mobile industry business in order to reach the mobile market. So, which means that if you're going to design a good service, then you will have to master the business and the technology side of things. So, concluding, basically, on the technology, on the business front, becoming a mobile entrepreneur in Africa and developing countries or anywhere is simple at the beginning when it's all about the technology. It's easy to start a service, to write a small demo, to write something that works and that seems convincing, but it's of course it's very hard to turn it into something not only robust but also that will last and that will be profitable enough that the service can continue running for some time and actually manage to make a difference. So that part is not really relevant to that to this presentation. This was more details on what we're offering in Ghana. Basically, the Ghana chapter of our initiative is basically going to start with being an online community of mobile entrepreneurs with forum, code repositories if people want to share code wikis if they want to share stories and anything that you might want to do as an online community. Also organize events, organize competitions and networking seminars and yeah, any sort of event. There is also a big part of the community which is of course going to be the training, and in fact the first training session is starting in February this year, and what we're going to teach is obviously the very long version of what I just explained right now, and once you have received the training, we are, we're hoping that people will have enough knowledge to succeed in developing a successful service. Excuse me. So this is pretty much it. There is a website that's just started, mobilewebghana.org. Excuse me. And basically, at this point of the original presentation, I tell people to go to that website to find out more about the Mobile Web Ghana initiative. And that's pretty much it for this presentation. Thank you. So I'm going to have a look at the questions after I drink a bit of water. Okay. So the questions I'm seeing here are, the Sherry Blair Foundation showed that the mobile ownership rates for women are 25% less in Africa. Are there apps designed to assist women entrepreneurs? How does your program try to work with women entrepreneurs? We haven't, we were aware of those initiatives, and not only the Sherry Blair one, but more. We have not had that dimension yet for this specific initiative in Ghana, but it's something that's very much on our minds for future initiatives similar to Ghana, but in the context of our mobile entrepreneurs in Africa. What is MEA? Oh, sorry if I didn't say at the beginning. Mobile entrepreneurs in Africa. There is, in fact, a web page. It's pretty simple. If you go to http://webfoundation.org, from that URL, you just follow the there's a link to the entrepreneurship program. It's very easy to find. Are these apps often open source? Do we see any replication of these innovative apps in other countries? I had seen Frontline Ph.D. being used in crisis situations that were these offers. So yes, there are quite a few of these software applications that are open source. Yes, in particular Frontline SMS and Shahidi are. People understand very early on that open source is a good system, and that their business is not going to necessarily benefit, and it's definitely not going to benefit from having closed source. Obviously, people, when they start something, just like when you and I learned the web, we had a look at the HTML source of other web pages, and that's how we learned. And people, it's not difficult to convince people that open source is a good system, and so indeed these apps are quite often open source. Then some of these does the Web Foundation encourage and engage local people in the developing world to be involved in such innovations? Do you engage local app designers and entrepreneurs? So I think I understand the question to mean, do we actually work at the application level where we don't teach entrepreneurs, but we also help with the applications themselves. We do that, but in the context of other projects, like we have a project on regreening and preventing desertification, where we actually work with NGOs on designing applications for, in this case, so you have farmers around the Sahel Desert, and some of them have found really clever ways to grow trees in the desert, and they have very precious knowledge, and that knowledge needs to be disseminated to other farmers around the area. Then we will work with that NGO in order to help them design a service to you can imagine a voice service, for instance, where the one farmer can leave messages with answers to questions, and other farmers can also leave messages with the questions, things like that. Okay, where were we? 3. What choices in technology limit or constrain the accessibility? Assuming some apps require smartphones must limit their reach, are SMS apps better for rural areas when there may be more penetration of SMS-enabled phones? I'm not sure what that means. I think it's pretty much what I explained, in that basically when you have to when you create a service, when you think of helping people with a service, you have indeed to find out which technology you want, and SMS apps will reach more people than mobile web apps, obviously, but they won't reach people in rural areas who can't read, in which case a voice app will be better. Not that voice is the universal solution. It's often not very well accepted culturally. In fact, all across the world, people find this voice systems annoying. And in fact, there's an interesting anecdote in Kenya. I think it was they introduced a banking system, an online bank that had 2 services, one based on interactive voice response system for people who couldn't read, and the other based on using SMS. They had the same functionality. Well, it was found that people would not, even people who couldn't read, would not use the voice system and would use the SMS system. They knew the key combination that would let them access what they had on their bank account. They could read numbers, obviously, but it's still quite interesting that they would just not accept talking to or interacting with a machine. I have 2 minutes left, and there are still many questions to answer. Let's do one more. What do I think about the viability of premium SMS services in Africa? Premium SMS are SMS services where carrier charges a fee per message that is above the base SMS rate. Well, I think that it's fantastic. It's just how, you know, when I use the example of that voice service where people couldn't pay you, so if you had designed such a service and you couldn't be paid, then the service would die because you couldn't keep spending time on it if you know, you weren't rewarded. Well, SMS premium numbers are the solution to that. You just need to agree with your mobile network operator basically, so that you do revenue sharing. So the SMS or the call that you send or that you get for using the service costs you more, and part of that extra cost is given to the service designer, i.e. you, and of course the rest is left to the operator. So premium numbers are a really important tool for this sort of services I'm talking about. And so my clock says it's the top of the hour, so perhaps I should stop now.
Okay, you're back with Adrian, the webinar coordinator. I think that some people don't want you to stop. I think some people want you to keep on going, and we're getting some really good feedback here. A lot of people are saying that they found this presentation very useful, Max. So we're very grateful. Yeah, we're very grateful to you and the Web Foundation for you know, giving us this opportunity to listen to what you're up to. And as I think you've seen, there were plenty of questions and a lot of interest in this area of you know, how you can design good apps, mobile apps for the developing world, and the tremendous difference it can make to people's lives over there. And with that, I would like to close this session by saying that also all of these slides and a recording of this webinar will also be available on the e-learning platform, as well as other content as well related to this. And don't forget to get your certificate of participation online. And Max has said that he is very happy to answer some of your questions by email as well. So thank you very much, and our next webinar will be on January the 19th by Jessica Colasso, so I hope that you can join us, and any feedback that you have or ideas in relation to how we can make best use of the opportunity to talk to each other and to interact, and for this to be a valuable tool for you, that would be great. Email me as well. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thanks a lot. Thanks everyone for listening to me. Bye.
Bye.